Tell me, do you like fan service? I do. I think fan service can sometimes either really help a show or really hinder it. Shows like Magical Senpai and Killing Bites really only had fan service to go on, but they were still really fun and entertaining to watch. But there's some shows that they try to use fan service, but it just doesn't pan out for them. For instance, there could be a show with an incredible scene, one that really has you invested, has your grip, has your eyes focused on nothing else but that screen. In that moment, nothing else exists or matters but that scene. And then suddenly, there's so much boobage that you don't know what the fuck to focus on, and it just throws the entire thing off. That's how fan service can really hinder a show. Today, I want to talk about two particular shows of this season, that being Dr. Stone and Fire Force. Before we begin, I want to put up a spoiler warning for both of these shows. Not so much Dr. Stone, as I'm only going to reference a couple scenes here and there, but I'm not really going to dive so much into the story. As for Fire Force, it's going to be much more on the spoiler heavy side, particularly in episodes 8 and 9. So if you haven't seen those episodes yet, click off this video, watch those, and come back. Let's start off with Dr. Stone and how it uses fan service 10 billion% right. Dr. Stone is a very character-driven story. It is completely reliant on its characters in order to get the story to point A, to point B, to point C, D, E, F, G, wherever else it wants to go. And it's been doing so flawlessly. And one of my favorite things about it is that it doesn't feel the need to rely on fan service to get its story across. It's still good, it's still fun, and has almost no fan service whatsoever. I'm not saying fan service is the devil or nothing, but in shows where you want to focus on the character, where you want to focus on the stories, when you want to focus on everything but the boobage and the fan servicey shit, you don't want to add that in there. You want to have just a show where it lets you just focus on the characters, focus on the story, lets you focus on going on without going like, hey, what are you, a size G? Or some other fucking ridiculous size that shouldn't even exist. Like, I'm not saying that the show is 100% free of fan service. There were a couple parts, if you really look at them, that were kind of fan servicey, but it's like they were like there and gone in an instant. Two shots I think of are Kohaku and her sister Rui. Like in the scene where Kohaku has to jab the spear into that stone, so the lightning with it kind of just like blocks off her no-no square for a second, and just shows off a lot of her butt. And then with Rui, I keep thinking of that one scene where Senku gave her the cure-all medicine, and she showed a lot of cleavage. But really, that's about it. They don't try to overdo it. They don't feel any need to rely on it. And that's what makes the show so great with its characters. It doesn't feel any need to rely on fan service. Instead, it wants to rely on its characters that they built up to create this fantastic story and get their point across in the best way they know how. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this show takes care of its characters. It doesn't feel the need to just try and shoehorn in as much fan service as possible to keep everyone engaged, because honestly, it can be more distracting than helpful. And what Dr. Stone does is it focuses on the relationships, the characters, the story, and just everything that goes on in the world. It's amazing. You need to watch it if you haven't already. What are you doing with your life? Dr. Stone's amazing. Watch it. So let's go on to talk about Fire Force and how it uses fan service not as goodly. First off, I want to make this very clear. I love Fire Force. I love it to death. It is a great show for its godlike animation, its incredible art style, and really amazing characters. Mostly. I do have a few complaints on how the show handles its fan service, though. Specifically, more with who is my personal favorite character and best girl of the show, Tamaki. And at first, I did not like her just because they introduced her as a fan servicey girl. When you're watching a show that is completely character driven, that is completely driven by a unique world, with unique rules, with unique ways of living, just overall, if it's unique, you need to focus on that uniqueness rather than trying to shoehorn in as much boobage as you can. I know Tamaki was introduced into the series as the fan service character. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to have a character that is nothing but your fan service character, then hey, go for it. But try not to let that impact so much of the story. Let's go on to episode 8, where Reika, the man Taliki loved and admired, asks her to bring a bunch of orphans to try and protect him from the Burnish. Sorry, I meant Infernals. Bet you haven't heard that joke before, huh? And is instead revealed to be working for the Evangelists, trying to turn orphans into more pyrokinetics. This is a really powerful scene for Taliki. She can do nothing but sit there and watch as this happens. She's crying and she's calling out for help. It was a very investing scene. I was 100% convinced that this was going to be the scene that really made this show incredible for me. And at the time, it was. Whenever episode 8 ends, and Shinra swoops down and smashes Rika's face down with his foot, and it's just like, that was such a powerful scene, especially with the beautiful way they animated Tamaki's face, of her, like, just the emotion of, she's so sad this happened, but she's also so happy that her hero came to save her. That was incredible. That was amazing writing. That was incredible animation. That was incredible character development. That was just, everything about that scene was incredible. Now we must go on to episode 9. The beginning of episode 9 kind of flashes back to where Shinra smashes Reika's face to the ground with his foot, and then continues off from there to where they have this amazing fight scene. And it was awesome. It was impactful. It really made you want Shinra to kick his ass. It made you want him to win. And then it ruined it. Reika punched him, and he went flying straight into Tamaki's boobs. Cute fan service scene, and it completely ruined the entire impact that the show had. It completely threw off all of the momentum they had built up for this scene. And at first, it was amazing, and as soon as that happened, it was like, really? Like this? You had this! And then it continues on to him walking away with her skirt. And then when Reika tries to burn Shinra, he instead burns off all of Tamaki's clothes. And the moment was ruined. And they did kind of try and bring it back with how Tamaki pressed her face against Shinra's back and basically said, please save me. That was still really good. Doesn't say the fact that you used fan service and completely threw off the entire moment. If they had just went with that and did like more fight scenes, they did just like more of the fighting and then focused on Shinra, like the way I would have written it is I would have had more of the fight scene, and then Shinra would crash in the hole, he'd fall down, and it would be a cliche moment, but considering what we have, I think a cliche moment would be better than this, because at least then you would have that momentum still built up, you would still have that impact, you would still have the viewer's grip, and there would be no distractions from what was going on screen. And how I would write it is, as Shinra is slowly getting up, he's having trouble getting up, and Tamaki rushes over, she presses her face against his back, or something like that, and does that scene, and it fires him up, and he's able to defeat Reika, and then the rest of the episode continues. That would have been much better than distracting us from the scene with the stupid fan service we didn't need in that moment. We were invested in the fight, not in Tamaki's boobs. So tell me, down in the comments, what do you think about my opinion on all this? Do you think I'm 100% right? Have you ever had a show completely ruined from overuse of fan service? If you have, let me know down in the comments. Or is my opinion complete shit and I should go eat my cat's shit out of his litter box? Let me know all that in the comments below. And please make sure to smash that like button like Shinra on Reika's face. Please subscribe to raise your IQ 10 billion%. And always remember, life is all about second chances.